Hello, my name is Simon Hepburn. Welcome to the latest vodcast from Marketing Advice for Schools. Thanks to your support, we're approaching 500 views of the various vodcasts we've done. Please have a look around and see if there's anything else that might help you or your school. This month we're looking at a really topical issue for schools in the UK, especially England within that, but obviously other schools around the world. How can schools best cope with what's called the teacher recruitment crisis? How can you change your school and market yourself to make sure that you keep the best teachers so that you can deliver the best service to your parents and your students? So we're going to look at 8 suggestions for that, but please add your suggestions in the comments or by email via our website, marketingadviceforschools.com. So, first of all, just thought we'd have a look at what the crisis actually is and what it means at the minute. Well, it came to a head, I think, in England, particularly on the 10th of February, when the National Audit Office released a in-depth report into the crisis. And here are 3 separate headlines from different media talking about some of the issues that they found, and the issues are around recruitment problems, around retention problems with people leaving, and also as a result of that, a severe shortage of specialist teachers in areas like physics, but also if you look at the detail in maths as well, and in other areas where there aren't really the specialists who can teach to a high enough standard. So the impact on individual schools is also great. The worst area seems to be the area around London, not actually in London, but areas around it that don't have the London weighting that schools in the centre can pay. And the impact is great. Schools unable to recruit anybody at all in the first quote. Secondly, if they can recruit, they're recruiting whoever is available through supply. That's temporary teachers, temporary teacher agencies, and of course supply teachers may not be that good and they may not stay for long. They may leave after a year or 2 or even a few months. And of course, even if you can recruit, the cost of that is massive. This is a quote at the bottom about the spending on supply teachers, which is a vast amount, but at the same time spending on recruitment adverts and headhunters is also affecting schools. So if schools can turn this around and recruit and retain teachers well, they should save money. They should also deliver a much better service. And here are sort of 8 tips, I suppose, to help with that. The first thing I think schools need to do is to acknowledge there is a crisis. This report, Why Don't People Want to Work for Us, is the title actually of a report that I wrote about 12 years ago, really for blue chip companies who were finding it difficult to recruit at that point. The key thing is that many people, too many people, don't want to be teachers, and those who are teachers don't want to work for a lot of schools. And I think if schools can realise this and really make it a strategic priority, above other priorities that they may be wrestling with, changes can actually happen within schools that can really make a difference and can really drive change in the profession. The second thing is to really think about long-term manpower planning. I think schools have been very short-term focused in terms of staff. There's been a lot of talk of getting rid of staff quickly if they're not up to scratch, or sacking them within 6 weeks. Looking at the next Ofsted inspection as being the next thing. But you can see from the graph on the left that this has had an impact, a fairly severe impact on sort of the older age groups. This is the second youngest age profile of teachers of any OECD country. And I'd like to thank Jack Marwood, who tweets as icing on the cake actually for bringing this to my attention and other people's attention. But you can see there's a massive problem with experienced teachers, and a lot of the younger teachers within that may not stay for too long in the profession if things carry on as they are. So as a school, you need to think about who do you need in the future, 5-10 years out, and also who can you develop. And we'll talk about development later on, but if you've got a plan, we need a head teacher in 2 or 3 years time, deputy head teachers, specialists in these areas, you can start thinking about manpower planning as a much more strategic task for your school. Thirdly, before going anywhere else, please listen to teachers you have. These are a couple of blogs that I've found or that are being circulated widely among teachers by social media. And a lot of people are finding it very difficult to cope with teaching at the minute. And I think, it's desperate to read these issues, these anonymous teachers. They want the best for students, but workload and work-life balance, are really, really strong issues. And, your school needs to be surveying teachers, talking to teachers all the time about what are the issues that they're facing, what can be done to try and help. And as I'll say in a second, you need to start making changes to make sure these people, don't leave in the first place. Once you've talked to people and found out the issues, here are some areas in which you can change the way your school does things. Values obviously are really strong in most schools. People do socially valuable work, but sometimes people don't see that because they feel there's too much paperwork, too much of other things that are happening. Can you make it so that people really understand what they're doing? Makes a difference to individuals. Secondly, culture. Do you have the right culture to retain people? Do people feel treated fairly? Do people feel listened to? Do people feel that management is there to support them? And so on. Thirdly, the reputation that people want to work for good organisations, whether that's a school or whether that's a trust, or whether that's a local authority. Are you sharing the great things that you're doing within your organisation widely enough? And finally, the people policies. Are you changing them within the obvious limits of money, and finance that schools have, but are you being innovative in a way that makes people think they work for a great organisation? So, for example, talking to one head teacher recently about sabbaticals. In many other industries, such as higher education, and in many other countries, such as Israel, people are offered sabbaticals after 10 years' work. That's something you could plan towards, and you can make your skills stand out and be different about that. Equally flexible working, if you allow job shares, that might well appeal to people at particular types of their career when they have caring responsibilities. These four sort of headlines came from the research that I did sort of 12 years ago, and I think they're a good framework for your school to maybe think about changes. Once you've looked at the changes you can make, schools should also be developing their own teachers. And this doesn't mean, giving CPD-style training on a regular basis. Are you identifying talented people who, in 5-10 years' time might be senior leaders or heads of department, and training and coaching them, giving them sort of help to fill any gaps they've got, maybe spending money on management development courses for them rather than sort of short-term classroom-based training. If you're not sure about where your talent lies in your organisation, do a skills audit. Find out which people are involved in running extracurricular groups or companies that they've worked in previous lives, or have a look back at CVs and application forms. Make sure you're always thinking about where does the talent lie within my school. 6 is the marketing bit. Okay, marketing advice for schools. So we'd obviously be really keen on you selling your school as a great place to work. Let people know. Do you have a section on your website where people can talk about how they develop as a teacher, how they develop as an individual? Certainly ARC do, and other big chains are developing those sections, and you're competing with them. Do you encourage people in your community to think about working for you? Maybe not now, but maybe in 2 or 3 years' time. Do you encourage speculative applications that you go back to over time? Do you market your school to local teacher training providers? Do you offer yourself as a place for work experience? Do you even talk to current students about teaching and maybe give them the opportunity to start thinking about maybe teaching as a career in 2, 3, 4, 5 years' time? Adverts, can help, but often they're the first, second, and third resource for schools. And once you've tried advertising 3 times and no one's applied, schools then move to headhunting or supply agencies, and the costs just spiral. Try some of these other activities first of all. There are some great schools out there. If you follow Head Guru Teacher on Twitter, or Riska CCS Head on Twitter as well, those are great individuals who are selling their school as a great place to work in everything that they do. So please make a big thing about it. Make a big shout about it. Second, tip 7, okay, make sure when you're recruiting that you do it with respect. Now, a lot of the typical teacher practices of getting a lot of people into a room, making them sit around for a day, interviewing 12 people for one job, that was fine when you had 20, 30, 40 applicants and as I said, you had 12 people who you were really interested in. If you have 2 applicants and only one of them is someone who you think you might employ, get them in quickly, have an informal chat with them, sell the job to them, tell them what's great about your school, offer them the chance to meet current teachers and look at the development opportunities you've got. Obviously, you want to check that they're good, but at the same time, you don't want to waste your time and their time, and find that they don't want your job in the end. And give honest feedback to everybody. Don't not call people. Don't tell people that you'll get back to them in 6 weeks' time. People will not trust you and will not pass on. You'll not get a good reputation within the teaching community because of that. Finally, number 8, I suppose, I think as teachers and as people working in education, we share a need to work together to solve the teacher recruitment crisis. In many schools, there's a feeling that if someone leaves, it's an irritation or perhaps worse, a betrayal. Why would someone go to another school? But actually, people move on for a wide range of reasons, for promotion or to develop their career, for a change of scene, maybe to move with a partner or to care for a sick relative. Please let them go graciously. You may bring them back later on. Keep in touch with them. Let them know about other jobs you have. They could be your recruiting agents within the wider teaching community. Make sure that they'll say good things about you, about how you be developed, and you never know, you could save money and find some fantastic people that way. So thanks for listening to these 8 points. If you'd like any further help, have a look at our website. There's more and more articles there about recruitment and about the teacher recruitment crisis. Equally, we run workshops where you can come and get specific advice on specific marketing needs of your school, including recruitment. And the next one is in Birmingham, and that's coming up soon. So have a look at marketingadviceforschools.com and give us feedback, please. Thank you very much.